Good evening, everyone. I messed something up here. I'm starting my stream, so I gotta do something different. Yeah, there it goes. So we're good, I think. What we're gonna work on tonight, small stuff. Already had a pretty full day as far as that goes. We might as well be lazy. Just do this. We're gonna work on finishing up the lid. We're gonna make the lid for the little hollow thing and work on some of that stuff. Because my wife would probably tell you that she's about ready to kill me because I found more wood on Marketplace again today. And I went and got some more wood. This is poplar. This is stuff that I use to do the trees for the painting ladies. I'm just going to sort of screw this up a little bit. This is the lid for the little box. I'm not worried that it's not perfectly true. Doesn't really matter. And I was going to switch that. Readjusted the camera to then switch over to the other side. We're going to have two different views, so to speak. And we can also bring it in a bit. There we go. So this just gets tendon on it in here. You have to grab a hold of it. Should be able to do this. Don't need to be very big. Definitely doesn't need to be very deep. This lid is deeper than what it needs to be. This will be the top. And this will get, probably do the same treatment to it as the base. That means it'll get turned black and the grain filled. Pretty much just the same as everything else we do. We got to flatten out the bottom, or whichever. Flatten out a side to get moving. This one will need to make sure that it's good and flat. Now we should true it up a little bit. And I still hadn't taken quite enough of them. That should be good. Yep. Now we're going to grip this in a little bit of a recess. That's what I normally do with them. So I have my caliper set for the outside of those jaws. use the big one, I guess, because we'll do a detail on the inside here as well. I'm going to go a lot deeper than what I'm inevitably it will be when we're done. Mind you, that's my idea of deep on something like that is actually still very shallow. And as you're going a little deeper than that, I think. It's been a while since I've done one of these kind of lids. Because this we need to make this a little concaved in here because our lid is not flat either. So the top of that's not flat. Like about a 1/16 of an inch deep, something like that. Maybe a little deeper than that. Clean that a little bit up right there. Give it a little dome. And we could do that with the scraper if I had the scraper in the handle, but I don't. So I'm just going to use my skew. Just to make it a nice, smooth, clean surface in there. This will sort of be a fair amount of messing about to get the lid right. Because I have to do the inside first. And then we go to the outside. So I think the diameter is probably about okay. And make sure my recess is what I need it to be, size-wise. Perfect. Like a perfect, right there is 1/8 of an inch on the jaws. That's a perfect circle. It will not leave any marks in that little ring in there, which is what I'm after. I probably could even put a bead in there. That would probably make that look a little bit more interesting. Set that off to the side so I don't fill it up with chips. But got that in too close. Back up just a little bit. So now what I need is the measurement here to make this fit inside of there. Give it a little ledge to sit on. Doesn't need it. Matter of fact, I will not make that a super tight fit. Because if you make it a super tight fit, this is side grain wood. It will expand and contract with the seasons. So if I make it a tight fit, come springtime or whatever, whenever it gets some moisture in the air, then it will no longer fit. Another one about maybe 1/8 of an inch or something like that. For now, just get it to fit, and then I'll sort of make a little bit of a concave in there. We got to get it to fit first. Somehow our measurement was not quite what we thought it was. Or did I go on the wrong side of the line? Should have did this part first. Left, right. That it's not. It needs to be a solid 1/8 of an inch bigger. It's also why you start out with a 1-inch thick piece of material. Oops. I didn't send it flying. Banged into the camera. Now it doesn't fit, so now we can sneak up on it like we should have been the first time. Close but no cigar. Maybe my original one wasn't as loose as I thought it was. Okay. That's better. Still plenty loose, which is okay. So now undercut it. And use my spindle gouge to do that. Now I gotta watch it don't touch something because now all these lovely edges are razor blades. Still plenty loose. I think I'm gonna leave it at that. Because like I say, I know what happens if you don't, I make that tight. Maybe I'll just taper this down. And I don't have to redo all that. It just gives it a little more meat to sit on. So I can just do that with my parting tool. And we'll just sort of make it tapered right up into that corner. And I'll probably actually make it even sloppier yet than what it was, because now the only place it's going to sit, and I really don't particularly care for that. And if you're gentle enough with the parting tool and the parting tool is sharp, it will actually cut clean in there. You're going to end up needing the other piece. The real question probably is, yeah, it should still be true in there on the base piece, but it certainly doesn't feel like that it is. I'll just make it, I'm following that angle out, so it should be making it tighter as it goes. It's still plenty loose, but I think I'm going to leave it at that. Yeah, that's really kind of a lot. There. Maybe we'll just sneak in here and we'll put a nice little bead or two there. And then that can be our gripping point. And then I can trim the outside down to that. That'll give it a little detail in there. Do need a little bit of a corner in there for the jaws to sink into. Just a little bit of an undercut, and that should be able to get a hold of that. Might as well check to see. Because it's a very small piece of wood, so it's more than enough to get a hold of it. So, like a lot of other these things, we'll have to sand as we go. Can actually sand and finish the inside there. So that if it gets sloppy on the outside, it will don't stick to it so much. Don't touch the bead now. And come to think of it, about a little bit of a round. Mainly on the bottom side. The inside will be just like the inside of the container, but we'll leave it natural. Now the real question, we want to get out the texturing tool and put some texture in the center. Here's where you can actually totally mess things up again. It's a little hard to actually see right where center is at. This tool requires you to go very, very slow. A fairly good amount of pressure. It didn't do quite what I wanted it to do, but that's going to give it a little character. Something other than just flat out plain. Shows that you cared a little bit of enough to make a decoration, a little bit of a decoration in the center. I was too far away from center. It should come up with look like a little flower in there, but I think I better quit while I'm ahead. Ash is not necessarily one to do that with either. I'll just go over that a little bit with a little bit of 800 sandpaper. And that'll be good. Of course, while we're coloring things in, we could probably, once that's sealed, we might be able to come back and actually put a little bit of the purple coloring in there. That would be interesting. I really haven't tried it on just, I normally do it over black, but it might look alright as long as it's sealed well enough. It will be, because we're going to put our trusty 3408 on that. Let's shoot out of the road. This time we'll put it on with it spinning. It'll make it a little easier, a little quicker here. It'll be a little less messy. I doubt it, because I now went over the edge. It's going to come back to haunt me. This should be good enough. Of course, the other thought would be I could possibly even leave it natural, since the inside of it is natural. I don't think that would look right. Get all the excess off. Tonight's probably going to be another one of these nights of do a little bit on this piece, a little bit on that piece. This really should set up for a while, but I can accelerate that process. Hit it a couple extra times rather than just once or twice. That way it'll set up quicker. I think I've got to polish the inside of the box, so I think I'll give this a couple minutes to do its thing. Like I say, I'm not no professional when it comes to that texturing tool. I've been working with it more and more, but it's kind of a bit of a work in progress, so to speak. I think it's the one. people that use those texturing tools all the time, and they make it look very easy because they know what sort of what angles to hold things at, and I just don't do enough of it. So we'll give this a polish on the inside. It has been finished with the 3408. Going to use some Yorkshire Grip Microfine abrasive paste in there, because there's no way to get in here, really no way to get in here and buff anything, so we'll just use the abrasive paste. And it does pretty much does just as good of a job. Not quite as shiny as it would be if it was buffed, but it'll be silky smooth, which is really what I'm after. Doesn't matter whether it's not quite as shiny as what maybe the outside is. You just rub that stuff around. You sort of hear it. Sounds like it's scratching the crap out of things, which it sort of is. I mean, it is an abrasive. There is a little abrasive in there. And then I let it set up just a little bit. And then we'll go back with clean paper towels. And we'll just keep going until we have nothing left. Nothing coming off on the towel. A piece like this is a little different, but still getting some. Be nice if I could actually, can we speed it up a little bit? You can do this on something, you can sort of really make it polish up good. If you can get the speed to come up a little bit. It's a little bit more difficult with a piece like this because of the shape of it, but because it has some wax in it, so. So that's nice and smooth. Sort of a satin, kind of a shine. Maybe a little above satin. And of course, if it's not shiny enough at that point in there, something like that, I could put some of the microcrystalline waxes or any of those types of waxes in there. But as soon as I would put a wax or something like that in there, then the smell of the wax stays. So I have a tendency not to put anything in there that has any kind of odor to it. So now this other piece is set up. I shouldn't put the polishing stuff away because we'll do the same thing with this. This can actually, you know what, I don't think I want to do that. So if I do that, I'm going to fill in my texturing. So instead of that, let's see. See if we can get our texturing filled. Maybe I should have used the one that's a wax rather than this one. This should go down in there and fill them little voids up. This is a cream, so it doesn't have much. It's very sort of creamy, I guess you'd say. So we'll wipe off the excess. It looks better, except it filled a little bit of, I got a little bit out there, and the ash is open green, so it filled a little bit of that in. But I think that'll look okay. Definitely give it a different sort of appearance. So now we'll go back over here and we'll grip our recess. I'm not putting a whole lot of pressure on it. It's just enough to keep it where it belongs. And it won't take much to keep it where it belongs. If we did everything right, everything should run true, which it does. Give it a little bit of an OG shape. It's too thick up here. And we got to get rid of all those other marks. Of course, the wonders of some of this kind of stuff like this, I can just, since we have good gripping points, I can take it off and put it on my box and look at it to see whether it's, looks like it's way too tall. I want it to be fairly flat. I think that's going to look better. Yeah. I think that's good enough. Like everything else, let's sand it in, blend all everything together. Round this corner nicely. Try and get below the super glue that I smeared up over the side there. So I just progressed through all the grits from 220 to 800. I'm trying to really keep the sandpaper moving so that I don't put the radial scratches. I probably could actually power sand it too, but I don't really feel the need for that. The other thing I can do is stop and sand with the grain, because now we have face grain. Last grit's 800. A random orbit. And then it'll be good. Let me get some gloves. You can literally spend more time doing the little stuff with some of these projects than the actual big part of the project. But it's all good in the end. We'll clean our surface and open the pores back up because we're going to turn it black. This one here, we might just go right straight to the black shellac rather than dyeing it black and all that good stuff first. But I do need to get the grain cleaned out. And if we're going to spray black shellac, Hmm. Definitely got to tape off some of this. If I turn the underside of the rim black, it doesn't really, not going to hurt anything, but I definitely don't want to turn any of this from the there in black. And the real question would be, if you're going to use 1.5 wide tape, little, oh, you dirty bugger. Take his glove off because that tape is sticky, so it'll really stick fast to the tape. I think we'll just do it in little pieces because it's tapered. Even littler than that. Probably still end up with some black down where I don't necessarily want it, but it's almost impossible to get in there. Maybe if I had really, and I'm not sure that because that's already finished with the 3408. I'm not sure that the black is actually even going to stick to that in there, which would be a very big plus if it doesn't. Just about there. Boy, I won't have to clean my drawers tonight. So now we're going to turn it black. I'm going to do that with an airbrush. I just ran some cleaner through it first, which is nothing more than alcohol, but it has a teeny tiny hole that goes up through the lid. It seems like it wants to keep clogging up. I don't think I kept my teeny tiny little drill bit out. Be good if I had a paper clip, which we don't. Do you know where it's at though? This is like a wire-sized drill bit. One you definitely don't want to drop on the floor because I won't be able to find it. Since it's a siphon feed, it has a little vent hole in here. Little place. Really, what it is a place for it to pull a little air through. So now we'll get our black shellac. Looks like I need to fill that up a little bit. It's the other thing that's nice about these siphon feed. Question is that black shellac or is that just, I'm not really sure. Almost looks like it was just plain alcohol. So I'll just dump that in with the other plain alcohol one. Clean this out a little bit. Put your glove on, dummy. Got black fingers. Play all this stuff with the black. Any of the color stuff is very much will color your fingers. These dyes are very potent. Very difficult to get them off your fingers. So that's just the Zinsser seal coat. That's all that is in there. It's just a de-waxed 1 pound cut shellac. Put a couple drops of the concentrated black dye, which is called trans tint. And then that makes it nice and black. So we need our towel. Turn our dust collector on to suck up the fumes. Nice and slow. Raw wood has a tendency to soak it in pretty good. I was looking to see whether it's white. Of course, I don't want to get too much on there. It'll run. It almost looks like it's running in the center of it. I think that'll do it. Only wet. I'm going to take that off of there. I'll set that off to the side. It'll take a half an hour or so to dry. And you can see the grain pattern that we're going to get out of it when I flip it up like that, because the open pores suck it in quite quite quickly versus the rest of it. So that's that part of the project. And that's on that chuck, so I can't say I could do a finial while I was at it. But not sure whether it's going to get a finial or a knob. I also cut a piece of curly maple. Maybe we'll do that. Because I wasn't sure whether I wanted to do the lid sort of the same as the rest of it. And now you have that chuck. Oh, that's kind of a pain. Maybe we won't do that. What we will do is we have our bowl that we did green last Saturday. It now has its coats of lacquer on it. So we'll hollow out the inside of that while that one dries. And is it that one? Yes. And this will be dusty. I'm going to take this one and move it elsewhere. I did still spray shellac all over the front of the chuck. Not really that big of a deal because a little bit of denatured alcohol, wipe it right back off. Just causes you a little extra work, but did spray plenty of lacquer down on that, but I think we're going to be all right there. And we weren't paying attention. See whether it spins true. Not perfectly, but that's okay. What I probably really need to do, uneven amounts of lacquer in there on that tenant. So I'll just recut the tenant on that side because that side makes it spin true. So just a little, tiny little delay in a way. Like I say, we'll just recut this just a little bit because there's certainly is plenty of unevenness there. I just use my parting tool. It's grounded at an angle. I'll just take a nice little skim coat, cut right into the base. And I'll take our spindle gouging glue in there because the chuck actually mostly grips right at the very corner of it. So if I don't have a nice clean corner in there, which is also why the lacquer needed to be taken out of there. So now we should be able to flip it around, it'll spin true. better. And we're definitely, well, that's surprising. I was thinking I'd have to move that camera, but I don't. It's pretty good. We could back it up just a little bit. There we go. We can't use our little short. I have a bowl gouge. That bowl gouge I was using is just about seen its better days. We're gonna have to go and sharpen the bowl gouge first. Bowl gouges. To even get started. So we'll go over to the trusty grinder. Not that one. That one. There. First I gotta set my platform for the little one. I think that's far enough. Well, maybe it is. This is like the finishing cut one. So it gets a very, very small bevel on it. And we knock off that corner, the very top of it, because that's the inside, that's the part that I'll be using on the inside of the bowl. Make sure the heel is completely out of the bread. The bevel right there is less than 1/8 of an inch long. Generally one sweep across this should be enough. Put the edge back on. Do the 40-degree one as well. Once again, with that one, it's a very small cutting bevel. Actually, the swept back one could use a little off of that. We're going to go around the corner when we get to the bottom. So if we have bevel in the road, it'll leave like little compression marks. So there's our 3 gouges we need for the job. Go back to there. This is ash, so I will definitely have to have some dust collection. See how far. That's all right. That's not too bad. I can't move that camera a whole lot because I'll need the room over there to be able to swing to. Mainly just to capture the flying dust. tighten the tool rest. And now you just moved it and banged up the rim. Oh, damn it. I'm gonna bang that sucker up right. Doing it. It went right through the layers of lacquer and all that good stuff. I guess it's no longer going to have a flat rim. It'll take more work than what it would be worth to try and fix that. Always something. And still leave the same rim design. Just won't be what I wanted it to be. Try and give it a little bit of an undercut rim. That'll work. Originally, I did that on the worm screw, and as you saw, it was being a little aggressive to start with. It snapped the piece right out of there. I'm gonna have to go back to the grinder too. That lacquer does a wondrous job. I won't switch the camera. It'll only take me a couple seconds. Any of the finishes and cutting edge tools do not cooperate very well together. And it knocks the edge right off. Having to push a little bit too hard. Basically, I was having to push on the tool to make it to cut, so that's a good indication it's dull. The messy studio, I like that. Yeah, it was prettier until my tool rest came loose and I banged into the rim up here. It was all green down the lip here, but as things always go, it just happens. So make sure we're cutting plenty clean. About 3/8 of an inch thick, something like that. Get some room to move. I'll check, make sure. I have a tendency to, feels all right. A tendency to start to go a little too straight in there. This was a good idea to stop and check. left a lump. The lump would sand out, but I'll play a little bit with the clean cut tool. There's our lumps up in here. Pretty consistent wall thickness. And it's not going to cut it. I just created work. Sounded like it. Sounded like it was creating chatter marks. Can't feel them, but we'll find out when we go to sand. I'm sure it did. I guess I'm going to need, no, I'm going to say I'm not going to need a longer tool rest. Used to going down the side of the bowl where I just come back and drop in that ledge, but when it comes this direction, it doesn't quite work so well. So we have to do the proper kind of method of closing the flute and picking up the cut again. Cut through the center. Left a little ridge in there. Yep. I need to make another little clean cut from up in here, straight down across. Almost got it. Now we're good.
Now the real question is, we sand with 3? No, 2. Or I should say 2 3/8. Be exact. Undercut rims are kind of nice, but they're also a pain in the butt when it comes to this part, to get up underneath there and sand it well. How you doing? I believe we got it. Yes, it does. You gotta have it. It could actually be a little bit closer, but then I'll block more of the camera. But on the inside of the bowl, it doesn't, as you can see, it stays inside the bowl until I get out to the rim, but does a really outstanding job on the outside. Because on the outside, I'll spin it in reverse, so all the dust goes right into the chute. No, it's not in the dust collector, but it's actually sitting on what's left of a tripod, on a little round wooden base. And this is a cabinet underneath my lathe. You see, I put open drawers and that. It's all drawers, but it has a melamine top on it so that the wet wood doesn't do anything to it. Use a paintbrush to clean out the dust and more importantly, any grit left behind by that particular bit of sandpaper. And it wasn't supposed to have a white rim. It was dyed and filled and finished on the rim, but somehow or another my banjo decided it should come loose a little bit. When it did, it come up and smacked the rim. So we had a little minor redesign. I don't know, that looks like a scratch line. 400. And it was. There's another one. Kind of the downfall, this rim is sort of cut back under it a little bit. Makes it nice if you're going to use it like for popcorn or something like that. It'll give it a nice effect, but makes it hard to fan. Makes them nicer to pick up too, rather than just come up straight or just a rounded edge. Really would have been really nice if it would have had this same effect on this rim. Like I say, until I banged it up a bit. And that should be it for the power. That's right through 600. Next we'll do just a little bit of 800 by hand. And then we'll throw a finish on this, and hopefully the black shellac one is dry. I'll put it way over there. A little random orbit with the 800 grit. It's on a soft pad. And that's a scratch line in there again. Hey. Not sure what. Must be the thing that the pad and the sandpaper are pretty much exactly the same size. And I'm not getting quite the right angle when I come out there. It's like leaving a little, almost like a little plastic bit. I don't want to have that. Especially when I hit the rim because it's the most visible. Get rid of that. Black streak. That's in the wood. You're gonna say that. It's the reason I don't hollow out the center part of these when I'm gonna put the die and stuff like that on them, because the die can find places. Right now it's somewhere 3/8 or less thickness there. The die will bleed right straight through to the inside when it finds the right little tube to go through. It will come through. It may not come through to the point where it runs or anything like that on the inside, but it'll leave little Like in this case, it would leave little black dots in there. Now we'll use our cheapest kind of microfiber cloth you can find, just a simple paper towel, because this is very open grain wood. I want to get as much of the dirt out of there as I can. I could put alcohol on it to get some of it out too, but if I do that, then I have to wait for the alcohol to evaporate, and more importantly, alcohol has a little bit of water in it, so it's not really conducive to the super glue finish that I'm going to put on it. It'll make it set up quickly, put it that way. So that's it. Good enough. Glove. Little felt pad. Couple paper towels. We use our paper towel, and I get the whole way over here, you'll be able to see. Use a little piece of polyester felt, put it in there, and I'll roll it up in the paper towel. Acts as my little reservoir in there. Product we're going to use is the Parfix 3408, which is a slow setting, no odor super glue. And we'll get our pad nice and lots on there. Start in the center and work our way out and around. We're looking for it to get basically saturated, and then we'll wipe off the excess. And we have, with the 40-second time delay, it's, as you can see, I'm not in that giant size of a hurry. I'm going to make sure I get everything saturated, rim included. Up here in this very top part, I'm going to have to be a little bit careful. I don't want to get a whole lot going down over part that has lacquer on it. That's why it would have been better if I wouldn't have been dumb and banged into it. But as they always say, it happens. So that's our glue on. And then we'll just go back and wipe off the excess. Same thing, I'm going in circles basically. And the whole way around it. And the rim. And you can see it pulled some back off. Actually pulled some more of the dirt off. Fold the paper towel inside out. Go back after it again. Because I don't want any of it left sitting on the surface. Because this particular product does not, really doesn't self-level. I guess it'd be a good terminology for it. It will sit on the surface and beat up like you just waxed your car and it's sitting out and got rained on or something like that, or you washed it. That's what it will do. That's what it will do, especially if you try and put a second coat over this of the same stuff. If it can't soak in, it doesn't know what to do, basically. I got a very sore heel, so we're going to do one last thing, and we're going to call it a day. It's 7:30. I will activate it. In my climate, I probably wouldn't have to. We'll go across once, twice, 18 to 24 inches away. I just want that little mist to land down on it. Get rid of our glove.
it has a 24-hour cure time. So I won't do anything else with it for 24 hours. In my case, I won't do anything else with it probably the rest of the week. But so the only thing we have left to do on this would be widen things out a little bit so you can see it a little better. That's the inside complete. Outside, a little dusty, but oh, that's my finish of choice, believe it or not. I mean, I am a distributor of this product, but that's it. One coat and done. And I'll come back. I'll buff it with Vonex. You can use some of the polishing paste and stuff like that as well on it. It's just easier to buff it for me, anyhow. And it'll be done. You know, I don't have to. You know, if I was going to finish this in some sort of a oil or lacquer or whatever, I mean, prime example would be this on this side. But it would be the sort of the same sort of process. Get rid of this face shield a second before I stick it right in front of the camera. But if I was going to finish something with the lacquer, say so to speak, I would put a sanding sealer on first. In my case, would be a shellac, and then you would want to cut that back because it's going to raise some grain. Maybe put a second coat of that on, and then 2 or 3 coats of lacquer over top of that. So that's basically multiple days of finishing a piece where this is done in one time. There's nothing, like I say, the only thing left to do to this is actually buff it or use an abrasive paste or something like that on it just to make it shine more yet. It does stand some grain up from certain places, so you're basically knocking them back as well. See if our shellac is dry. No. Well, that's where I'm at. That's why I fell in love with it. And I ran into it umpteen years ago, and I sort of had trouble getting it, and got with basically the manufacturer of it, and they're like, "Well, you can become a distributor. That's no big deal." Like, okay, so that was 3 years or so ago. This is certainly not perfectly dry. I might just take my heat guns out. I'm going to grab my heat gun, and we're going to force that to dry a little quicker. I got it on a little heavy in the center part. Because I want to do the grain fill on it. And then we're going to be done. Not necessarily something I normally would do. Like I say, I want to get this last little bit done tonight. And I'll show you once I fill the grain on this as to what this piece actually goes to. Especially if this is your first time here. I did the inside of this piece last week. Still a little sticky in places. That should be good. rid of this heat gun. It's hell when you get old, I can tell you that. We'll just go for it. Get any more and mess it up and have to make another one. This is what it goes to. This is the lid for this little guy. This one has been fire textured. Basically, it's burnt with a torch, which gives you a texture because it burns the soft parts of the grain, the open parts of the grain. Wire brush it out. Shellac, or turn to black. I think I used black shellac on that one as well. This one I did not burn, though. I'm trying to think which. And I messed around with the inside with the purple. I think I used the wax on that one rather than the cream stuff. This is an embellishing wax. What it's going to do is sink into them open pores of the grain, and it basically will fill them up. And leave that behind on that open grain part of the wood. That being warm sort of made that really malleable. So I'm going to have to be a little bit careful with that because our next step is going to be a paper towel. I think what I'm going to do is just give it a short second or two to set up. Give it a little spin, let a little air on it. Yeah, having a sore heel, and today I'm a scrounger on Marketplace, and somebody had more wood, more free wood, of course, and it was poplar, and I need some of that to make trees for the painting group my wife is in. So I just need a plain kind of wood for it. I went and got pretty much a truckload of that this morning. I didn't get hardly any. I got a little bit of it processed this afternoon, but where it was at was down in a little bit of a gully, so I had to walk up and down a hill, and that just didn't cooperate with the heel very well. That was already cut down. I didn't have to cut it down. But yes, I'm using a tree to make a tree. I'm not sure I have any over here. I can get one and show you what they look like. Out east. Okay. Next question is, if I'm out east, then where are you from? You in the U.S.? Across the pond? Be right back. Oh, they're over here. Never mind. Oh, okay. You're in the North Country. Let's go out wider yet. As wide as we're going to go. There's the trees. Did I get the whole thing in the picture? I'm from the U.S. I'm in central Pennsylvania in the U.S. But there's trees made from trees. These are actually these are actually tree branches. Both of these. The cherry when the bark does cherry is very hard to get the bark to stay on. This side here is actually a walnut. Um, you can do them when they're pretty green. Or you can let them sit around for a while. Right, yeah, most people don't know what to do with the branches. And you can get them everywhere, basically. If there's any kind of like brush recycling or anything like that, you can get them from that. I gotta get all this tape off it here. But the poplar I got today, that actually will get cut up into, I started to, it'll get cut up into like 2.5 or 3 inch billets. And those trees will not have any bark on it. Damn shit ran underneath there. I'm not going to mess with it because I think that has the same super glue underneath it. So I think once everything cures, I should be able to take a little bit of denatured alcohol on that and wipe it back on. Well, poplar would be very white. Yeah, not sure I'm thrilled with it, but not sure it's the right. I'm not sure I used the right purple. So that's what it'll look like on the piece. I'm not sure. I think what it is I pushed the envelope a little bit too far. Is what I've done because I see now I have scratches, and those scratches are probably in the shellac. But this will get some sort of probably just a little knob on it yet. So another day. It's loose. Needs to. It could have been tighter than that, but I found that any of this stuff, because this is long grain. Both of them are long grain pieces. So the changes in humidity from winter to summer, it has a tendency to really make some of this stuff swell up and do all that. We're going to have a little bit of work to do on the bottom side once everything sets up. Because I got the black in there and I have tape places where the tape is at, so I'll have to go back and sort of touch up some of that a little bit. But I did put a little texture in, and it has the same grain filling in the texturing. Just to be weird, but give it something a little different to look at. So that's just going to sit right there. Now I'll leave it sit on the lid because there's shellac on there. So, but that's going to be a wrap for me. I normally don't do, well, I have sometimes to do the trees on stream. I actually I have a little pattern. I have several little patterns for it. And what I've done is, and the reason I have a pattern for them is when you come down 3/4 there, and I think I added, well, yeah, I added an eighth, so 7/8, 1 inch, and added an eighth of an inch each one of them increments down there, because trees don't, all these sections of a tree would be different in size because of the age. So I just thought it was a little bit of a different touch, and it makes them a little bit more uniform.
And that's sort of what I was after. It was a little bit more uniform. So I normally would go back after that piece right there with the airbrush, like right away, but I am going to just leave that go. And I sprayed that stuff on, sprayed the shellac on there with an airbrush. Why don't you put your gloves on? Stay. You'd think you'd learn after umpteen years of playing around with stuff like this that gotta leave your gloves on anytime you're gonna play with any of this stuff with dyes in it. Let me get this out of the road. Poor man's airbrush cleaner. Just spray it in a container. This is alcohol that's in here. That cleans it. That's pretty much this airbrush. That's pretty much all it ever gets. Every once in a while I take all the metal parts off of it and I'll just soak them in alcohol. But it's kind of quick and dirty. The lid's on there. There's plenty of juice sitting in the bottom, but till tomorrow that'll all evaporate. Just keeps things contained. And I'm not spraying flammable liquids around. So, always a plus, in my opinion. But now that that's out of the chuck, I'm going to say I do have a new... I've been working on getting a good red grain filler. And I got one. I did a demonstration for there's a Wednesday night wood turning group. And then one guy asked me whether I ever saw this stuff, which is he said it's used more in like scrapbooking and stuff like that. But because the red I have is not very red. It's really pink as far as I'm concerned. So we'll probably do something maybe next weekend with that. Oh, really? Because now I cleaned the airbrush. Dummy. I think that's pretty much it. The other thing we play around with is a little bit of resin casting. This will not show up very well. This is box elder burl that has been dye stabilized. There's also some color shifting flakes down in the little grooves in the burl part, because this box elder burl has all those little mountains in it. So that's another project for another day. I just managed. I had a little bit of time yesterday, so I did. These get threaded. These will be a bottle opener, and they're threaded probably down to about there. They have really long threads on them. This will get mounted in a bottle stopper mandrel, and then this all will get turned away and shaped and sanded up a little bit. And once again, it'll get one coat of a little bit different super glue on it, but that's all it'll take. Will be one coat. Put the lid on the shellac. And I think that's going to be a wrap for me. Like I say, we're a little hard on our foot today. So I would have liked to have got to this one. This is my first experience, I guess you would say, with the deep pour epoxy resins. This piece has been stabilized too. I have another piece over there. Maybe it'll help somebody if I show them. I wish I would have seen more about it before I kind of made that mistake. I did talk with a guy who was on Instagram, I guess it was, a little bit, and I don't know, he said something about having questions or whatever, and his recommendation, he was doing like the serving boards and stuff like that. And he said about sealing all the edges first and letting that set up. Well, I mixed some of this up to seal the edges of a piece that I'm going to pour, and I mixed up way too much. So I just basically cut a little, there's just a recess in there. It's only about 1/4 of an inch deep. The stabilized one, it did still soak in somewhat because it's below the surface. But this is the other one. This was plain wood. It's a piece of ambrosia maple. And I filled it up. I did put some in there before I mixed up the color. I put some in there and I don't know, gave it 10 or 15 minutes or something while I was playing around figuring out what color and mixed up the color. And I come back and poured this one full, just like that one. And this stuff takes forever to set up and dry. And I come back later on that evening, and this one looked like that. It literally soaked down through it. Because, I mean, this is end grain here, so it soaked it down through. It's starting to come out. It started, I'm curious to actually turn this. I want to actually mix up a little bit more and pour this full of a color. But this thing, those dark streaks in there are epoxy that's trying to come back out the grain. So I have no idea what it's going to look like when I open it up. I'm sure it's going to be interesting, to say the least. But time will tell. That'll be just little small lidded boxes. Just gives them a little character if they have something on the top, I think. A lot of people put a different kind of piece of wood or something up there, but the resins are kind of interesting to use. I'm not sure I'm a little skeptical on the deep pours so far, but like I say, that's the only thing I've done with it, so I shouldn't be skeptical. But that particular one there, I don't remember what the bottle even said. That one actually takes, I think, days for it to cure. So that's a little bit time consuming to me, or something like that. But like I say, that's going to be it for this evening for me. I do this both on Twitch and YouTube. It's under Kapps Kreations on YouTube as well. So if you're something you wanted to go back and look at or see what other kind of stuff I do, that's where you'll find it at. So we will end that stream on YouTube first. And then see if anybody